MSc. Canizisha Head of Marketing Department. Youth Center Borderless Youth Unemployment. Isn't our job to find a solution? MSc. Canizisha Head of Marketing Department. Executive Summary. This presentation aims to demonstrate the importance of understanding youth unemployment as a global emergency. During this presentation we will have the opportunity to analyze causes and consequences of youth unemployment in Albania as a case study and which could be the potential solutions. Content of the presentation. Introduction: Understanding youth unemployment today. Case study: Youth unemployment in Albania, factors and consequences. Responsible stakeholders for youth unemployment and perspectives. Finding solutions where the problem is us. Conclusions and recommendations. Definition of youth unemployment. Youth unemployment is the unemployment of young people, defined by the United Nations as 15 to 24 years old. An unemployed person is someone who does not have a job but is actively seeking work. Understanding and measuring youth unemployment. Unemployed. Labor force. Unemployment rate equals x 100. Employment rate equals 100%, unemployment rate. Young unemployed. Young labor force. Youth unemployment rate equals x 100. 65. Unemployment. Youth. Unemployment. P. O. P. V. E. R. 15. P. O. U. L. A. T. I. N. L. F. A. O. B. R. O. C. R. E. 15 to 24. Young. Youth unemployment rate in Albania is 33.8%. Youth unemployment, a global emergency. Globally, over 75 million youth were unemployed at the end of 2010. 1. Reasons for and rates of youth unemployment vary across national contexts. Official rates in the early 2010s decade ranged from under 10% in Germany, Vietnam, Sierra Leone and Cuba to around 50% in countries including Armenia, Macedonia, South Africa, and Spain. Furlong, Andy, 2012. Youth Studies, Global Consequences of Long-Time Unemployment. From losing skills to revolution. After long-term unemployment, youth are in danger of losing skills, connections to their industry, and desire to work long into the future. After a period of unemployment during a recession, the individual will find it difficult to find work once the economy improves because they have a large gap in their work history. Youth unemployment has many long-term consequences for the individual and for their country. For some countries, high youth unemployment causes youth to leave the country in search of employment. 18. High youth unemployment has led to social unrest and political revolutions. The Arab Spring movement and the protests in Greece are recent examples of this. Consequences of long-time unemployment. Consequences of long-time unemployment. Types of unemployment: frictional, structural, seasonal, cyclical. Out of the labor force. In the labor force. Case study: What's the actual situation of youth unemployment in Albania? Statistics. Source: data from Albania Living Standards Measurement Survey, 2008. Key labor market indicators by age and sex, 2011, percentage. Age groups. Participation rate. Unemployment rate. Employment rate. 15 to 64. 68.2. 13.9. 58.7. 15 to 29. 54.5. 21.5. 42.8. 30 to 64. 76.3. 10.7. 68.1. Man. 76.1. 13.8. 65.6. 62.1. 22.7. 51.8. 84.8. 9.7. 76.6. Woman. 60.3. 14.1. 46.5. 19.8. 37.3. 11.9. 60.0. Factors affecting youth unemployment in Albania. In Albania, PEST model. Economical factors. Socio-demographic changes. Technological changes. Legal issues. Political, economic conditions to study further, especially in rural areas. Less opportunities toward training, employment etc. Economic crisis, inflation. Top political priorities by the year 2020 to decrease youth unemployment. Polls, elections, priorities. Institutional determinants. Fighting corruption. Move towards cities/leaving rural areas, less job opportunities for urban youngsters, universities etc. Lekdukogenic issues, isolation of youngsters. Return immigrants etc. Approach to European standards. Legal issues that help reducing the gender wage gaps, marginalized groups. Fighting corruption, Pol plus leg. New migrating jobs like IT specialist, engineers, graphic design etc. leaving without job, other professions, whose job is to find a solution for youth unemployment. Public institutions. Ministries. Employment agencies, career offices. Youngsters. Stakeholders. Private enterprises. Educational institutions. Training of young employees. EU programs, Youth in Action, Erasmus Plus etc. Domestic and foreign organizations. The new management plan of the Ministry of Youth and Social Welfare defines promoting social inclusion and territorial cohesion as its top strategic priority by the year 2020. Challenges. Targets 2020. Limited access of rural areas residents to training and employment services. Limited access of vulnerable women and men, Roma and people with disabilities to training and employment programs. Inadequate range and scope of employment services targeting vulnerable individuals in rural areas. Weak coordination between passive and active employment measures. Limited support to social entrepreneurship as instruments for inclusion and empowerment. Inadequate coverage of social assistance for eligible individuals. Decrease the long-term unemployment rate for women to 61.0% and for men to 59% of total unemployment. Decrease the youth unemployment rate, 15 to 24 years old, for young females from 33.8% to 25.0% and for young males from 43.6% to 35.0%. Reduce the gender wage gap in 4 percentage point. Raise the share of social assistance beneficiaries referred to employment promotion programs. Increase annually around 1 percentage point the number of women and men covered by social and health insurance. Only the owner can get the donkey out of the soil. Conclusion and recommendation. Finding solutions to youth unemployment when the problem is exactly the youngsters. 1. Education is not enough to get hired, equals if you don't have a degree you don't get hired. Not prepared for the market, skills gap. Don't know where and how to look for a job. Low self-esteem. Solution. Innovation. Optimism. Adaptation. Vitality. Only the owner can get the donkey out of the soil. Conclusion and recommendation. Businesses today don't do any more than what they used to do before. The young staff, train them. Because of the costs, especially in the period of recession when time is money is worth more than before. Usually businesses try to hire people with experience who are already trained. If they don't find them, they train them, motivate them, raise their wages according to their growth, and they build trustful staff in the company, etc. That is supposed to be the philosophy, but in reality it doesn't work like this. Conclusions and recommendation. Providing the right statistics on levels and trends in educational attainment of the labor force can help the countries to achieve social and economic goals, especially to decrease youth unemployment. Having the right statistics helps to support analysis of the influence of skill levels on economic outcomes and the success of different policies in raising the educational level of the workforce. Give an indication of the degree of inequality in the distribution of education resources between groups of the population, particularly between men and women, and within and between countries, and provide an indication of the skills of the existing labor force, with a view to discovering untapped potential. Conclusions and recommendation. As a main recommendation would be the need to promote investments in education for different population groups. I would recommend to change the slogan that says, "If you don't have a degree you don't get hired." Involving more the private sector, enterprises as the main actors who provide job opportunities, internship and training opportunities for youngsters, the current and potential solutions. Recommendation: become active. Build self-esteem. Volunteer jobs. The current and potential solutions. Professional internships. Contests on youth. Entrepreneurship. Formal, non-formal training, professional training. Free seminars. Thank you for attending. It's youth time. Become active now.